Yo, how's it going, Mathmech players? Welcome back to another Mathmech and Code Talker video. So, as you can see from the title, I've created a comprehensive guide against none other than Labrynth. Now, for those who don't know what Labrynth is, it's an archetype within Master Duel that mainly depends on normal traps. It consists mainly of trap cards, and their main objective is to bring out their boss monsters through these trap cards and then just wreak havoc from there. Now, the reason I'm making this video is because, like I said before, it's just such a strong deck. It's one of those ones that I dread playing, especially going second. Going first, you have a pretty good chance, but you have to make the right combo and make sure that you have a sufficient number of pieces on board. And we'll go into much further detail as we go on, but how I just want to lay out the structure of this video. So I'm going to start with a Master 1 deck list, go through the main engine parts of this deck, and then present the strongest end boards. That way you know what to prepare for. Secondly, I'm going to go through the weaknesses of this deck, and then present cards that I feel would be a great support to the Mathmech line, ensuring that any face-up against this particular archetype will go in your favor. And then thirdly, we're going to go through some replays together of gameplay I've had going first and going second, and then we can actually analyze some of the gameplay together, and you can see how some of my points will, well, how do I say, materialize, so that you can see from there. But why don't we jump straight into the deck list, and I'll see you there. Before I jump into the Master 1 deck list, because I feel like we're going to get more information from that, I think it's just good to have a very brief understanding of what the main engine cards do. So just one by one, we'll just quickly shoot through them. Coup Clock, you discard this card as a quick effect, and you can activate one normal set trap the turn that you set it. It's a very powerful effect. Stovey and Chandelier, literally the same effect. You discard itself as well as one other card from your hand, and then you can set one Labrynth spell or trap from your hand or deck. And then you got Ariana. Ariana is basically the Alan version of this deck, so whether it's normal summoned or special summoned, you can add any Labrynth card from your deck to your hand. It does have a secondary effect, but I'm being honest, every time this has been activated, it's not really been that impactful. It's okay, but like the card that they set is not activatable, and when they do special summon a fiend monster, I don't know, it can be Lovely Labrynth, but Lovely Labrynth's actual effect doesn't get triggered until something leaves the field by a normal trap, so it's not really that effective. But anyway, Lovely Labrynth, this is one of the boss monsters. This was the main one back in the day, and then, you know, the new one got released. But Lovely basically has three effects. The first one is actually a condition, so whilst this card is face up on the field, your opponent, so us in this case, cannot activate monster effects in response to the activation of their normal traps. That is really big, by the way, so Linger Rebo is pretty much useless when this card is face up on the field. The second effect is that they can target a normal trap in their graveyard and then set it to the field, but it cannot be activated unless they control a fiend monster. Every one of their monsters is fiends, so very useless limitation there. And then the third and final effect is when a monster on their field leaves because of a normal trap effect, they can destroy one card on the field or in their opponent's hand, so in our hand really. And that non-targeting destruction is kind of lethal because we usually like to use transcode to protect a lot of our cards by being co-linked, and well, this bypasses it completely. So yeah, very, very strong card. Arguably the boss sponsor in my opinion, but actually, I'd actually say Lady is better, so I take back what I said. Now, this also has a few things to unravel. Number one is that, as a condition, if they have a set card, this card cannot be targeted by card effects, nor can it be destroyed by card effects. And then, of course, the actual effects of this card is, when a normal trap is activated, it doesn't matter which turn, because this is a quick effect, it can special summon itself from the hand in defense position, and then that just leaves you open to the third effect, which is the lethal one, which is, whenever a normal trap is activated, whilst this card is face up on the field, they can set any other normal trap from their deck. It cannot be the same name as the one activated, but realistically, when are they ever going to put the same one down? This is the card that actually allows them to choose what plays and what strategies they go into, and I'll get onto that into the next bit because that's where I actually go into a bit further detail. But moving on to the field spell, this card actually just adds the additional effect to the normal traps here. So when they're activated, they also get the effect of destroy one card on the field. So as a brief example, if they use Welcome Labrynth to special summon Lovely Labrynth, they can pop not only one card but potentially two cards on the field, and then maybe one card in the hand and then one on the field. So depends, it's really up to them there. Now there's also the additional effects, but if I'm being honest, it's not that useful. It's the same as Ariana's second effect, but if you are interested, then you can pause it here and read it yourself. Now you have Welcome Labrynth, and this is the main one, and then the big support one, which I think is a lot better, and actually the best card in the deck. So Welcome Labrynth, special summon one Labrynth monster from your deck, and then there's a fake limiting condition here. But if another monster leaves the field by your normal trap effect, whilst this card is in the graveyard, it literally just sets itself and then can be activated the next turn. Like that's crazy. Like that's actually crazy. So yeah, that is a very strong card. But now the bigger and stronger card, big Welcome Labrynth. Essentially, this card doesn't just summon from the main deck, you can summon from your hand or your graveyard. So it can also be negated by Ghost Spell as well because of the graveyard summon effect. But then you have to return one monster you control to the hand. Now it's good for dodging negation, as well as getting certain cards you need from your hand. because it's nice to actually just summon Lady Labrynth and then put it back to your hand, and that way you can just special summon it from its own effect. But that's only if you can't get Lovely Labrynth onto the board. So they tend to normal summon Ariana, big welcome, put Ariana back to the hand, and then special summon Lovely, and then Lovely can activate its effect to destroy one card. But yeah, the actual devastating effect in my opinion is if this card is in the graveyard and you control a level 8 or higher fiend monster, you can banish this card, target one card that your opponent controls, and then bounce it, like just return it to the hand. That is a crazy effect, and it can be activated on either turn. Like, that's insane. I've won against Labrynth players where I was like, yeah, this guy must be new, because he could have bounced any of my cards at any point, and I just don't understand why he didn't even bother. So yeah, either way, maybe he let me win, but I just wanted to keep that very brief, and we can jump straight into the Master 1 deck list now. Wasting no time here, let's have a look at the actual Master 1 deck list. So I chose this one amongst the many that have made it to Master 1, just because this one in particular has a lot of anti-Mathmech cards, because we have the Grave Shufflers, we have Negate and Destroy upon resolution, and then we have extra interaction from Fenrir, and then the rest is kind of standard Labrynth cards. So just starting with the non-engine stuff, we have, you know, typical Maxi, and then we have Gamma, which is the hand trap that I just referred to. So this is quite devastating towards Alan Bershing, because not only do we lose the effect, so we won't be able to search for Diameter, but we lose the monster. So if we don't have any more extenders, we are really going to struggle to link climb into the rest of our plays. And then of course you've got the Grave Shufflers. This is essentially devastating for Super Factorial. As we go to activate Super Factorial, if this is in the graveyard or on the field actually, they can just banish itself and then shuffle all 3 materials back into the main deck, and then Super Factorial is just useless, it dies. And then of course Fenrir is just a free summon for these guys, and it's just, I cannot believe this works so well in so many decks. It's kind of annoying. So yeah, if you don't know Fenrir already, you should, because essentially you activate a monster effect, it can target one face-up card in the field, tends to be one of our monsters, and then it just banishes it face down, so we can't actually interact with it. Now that's pretty much all the non-engine monsters. We'll start with the non-engine spells as well. So Pot of Extravagance, all you need to know is this card is basically Pot of Greed. If you don't know what Pot of Greed is, it's a card from the anime where literally the effect is draw 2 cards. Now this may have a bunch of extra text, but what you should know, in the Labrynth deck, they don't really care about their extra deck, so this is literally just Pot of Greed. So there's literally no need to pay attention to any of this. And then Pot of Prosperity, kind of similar concept. The idea is that you excavate the top 6 cards of your deck, and you get to choose one and add it to your hand. But then for the rest of the turn, your opponent takes half the damage they would from, well, the total damage that they would from a turn. Now this doesn't actually matter to a Labrynth player, because they are a controlled deck. They play for mid to long range. They don't play that turbo OTK style like we do as Mathmech. So this, you know, knock-on effect of any damage is halved. Doesn't mean anything to them. As long as they're getting the specific cards that they need, they are absolutely fine. So those are the 2 non-engine spells. Now moving straight into the non-engine traps. There's quite a few, but there's only a few that actually affect us. Now I'll kind of skip through them quickly. This is just for the mirror match as well as purely. For purely, they state spell cards, destroy all spells. For the mirror match, they state all trap, destroy all traps. So that's pretty much that. Dimensional Barrier, it can affect us, but in the most minimal way. We play mostly link monsters to get into our final boss monsters, but if we're trying to summon Lablation and they have this, we can't summon him, and if we summon Alan Bershing, we lose the effect. So it's okay in some situations against us, but not really designed for us. It's more for Fusion, Synchro, and then Xyz. So purely Kashtira, Branded, Tillaments, and I guess Sword Soul as well. There's other decks, but those are the main ones I can think of from the top of my head. Now the ones that actually affect us are Dogmatic Punishment, because this is basically a double card pop. They send Inters to the graveyard, so 2500 attack, and then by the effect of Dogmatic Punishment, you can destroy one monster on the field that has less attack than the monster that you sent. So all of Mathmech really, because even Alan Bershing is 2000 and below. And then of course, by Inters' second effect, if this card is sent to the graveyard, you can target one card in the field and destroy it. So that's a double pop right there. And then the other card that's not in this deck list, but I know it's here. There we go. Ice Dragon's Prison. This is arguably better than Dogmatic Punishment. If you time this one correctly, you pretty much kill the Mathmech play and give us the hope that we thought we were going to build into something. So as an example, if you special summon Circular from its own effect, you send Sigma, and then once you go to special summon Sigma from its own effect, they activate Ice Dragon's Prison in response, and then they summon Sigma to their side of the field and then banish both Sigma and Circular, and then you don't even get the search from Circular. So this card is, I think, arguably worse, but Dogmatic Punishment, almost just as bad. Like, really an awful card to come against. So yeah, not too pleased with this, but it is what it is. And then what else is there? Daruma. Daruma is quite a big deal against us, but it's more for like X Purely Noir, because essentially any monsters that aren't flip face down, so link monsters and unaffected monsters, the player has to send them to the graveyard. So it's kind of like evenly matched, except they do not get the choice. They have to send it to the graveyard. So actually a very, very good card, but we won't see this as much. I've had it tried to be used against me, but I negated it. So, and quite luckily so, because, well, if I didn't, I would have lost all my best strategies. So, and then of course, skill drain. Skill drain is just a standard, like, we can't really play around this card. If you already have the materials on the field to go into access code, what you can do is banish access code by its own effect, and whilst it's in the graveyard, well, how do I say this? Activate access code's effect and banish itself as the material, and then you can just destroy skill drain, and that's how you out it. But if you have to use materials to build up into access code, like you're going second, then I think you've lost at this point, because, well, good luck to you. Your opponent's definitely going to be summoning more and other stuff, so very, very tricky. But yeah, that's pretty much all of them. I can't really think of any other normal traps that would be used, but either way, the extra deck is not really that useful. Sometimes they can go into Chaos Angel. It has like a decent effect, so like monsters you control cannot be destroyed by battle. All of their monsters are dark, so I can't imagine that. But except for Frame Gear Gamma, I suppose that's why this is here. So if you use the effect and it special summons itself by its own effect, you can use, I guess, Frame Driver and a dark monster, go into Chaos Angel, and now but this is all synchro monsters, I just realized. Yeah, it doesn't really mean anything, so yeah. But the reason why this is actually so good is not just the effect here, but because it's a level 10 Fiend monster, it meets the conditions for Big Welcome's second card to be activated. So special summon a Labrynth monster from your hand, deck, or graveyard, whatever. But the second one is that if you control a level 8 or higher Fiend monster, you can bounce one card that your opponent controls. It's targeting, of course, it says you can target, but still, being able to do this on either turn is very devastating, because I can just think about so many plays where, let's say I make transcode, I go to bring him back. Well, no, I go to bring back Splash Mage, and then in response, my opponent bounces back transcode, so I don't even get the Splash Mage out the graveyard, and I lose transcode, so the play is just dead from there, really. So, yeah, just one of those unfortunate things, really. So, yeah, I'm just trying to think what else is there to really say before we get into the combos. I think that's pretty much everything, so we'll jump straight into the combo. So, going first with this deck, the most ideal hand that they can have is Ku Klok, either Chandelier or Stovey, and obviously with this particular deck list, one of the Ishizu monsters, so Keldo or Medora, because it's nice to have a card that wants to be discarded, and they operate in the graveyard, so it's nice. And then Ariana, as well as Lady Labrynth, so that's 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. Yeah, so 5 in your starting hand. That is an ideal starting hand, because essentially what you would do is you would summon Ariana, grab Big Welcome Labrynth, then you would use Ku Klok to either search with Labrynth, Chandelier, to get Welcome Labrynth, and now you can summon one or the other. Sometimes it's nice to summon, you know, Lovely Labrynth, and then put Ariana back to the hand, and then start with Lovely Labrynth, so you shoot a card from your opponent's hand, and now you may find out what they're playing. So let's say, for example, they shoot down, I don't know, Mathmech Circular. They know we're playing Mathmech now, so Lady Labrynth will now special summon itself from its own effect, put itself onto the field, and now for the next turn, they know that they need to place Dogmatica Punishment onto the field, because this card just kills Mathmech in so many ways. So yeah, that's pretty much the standard practice going first. Like, it's all about getting information from Lovely, because that way they know what to they know what you're playing, they know how to prepare. Because if we were playing Branded, they would go for Dimensional Barrier and then just declare Fusion, and then we have no plays for that turn. Like, we're completely fucked. So it's just one of those things, really. And yeah, I mean, it's such a good deck, just so versatile, because when you look at the different actual normal traps, they can just choose what they want to do through this card in particular. So yeah, that's pretty much going first. And then going second, so let's say as a Mathmech player, we're going first. In the end phase of the turn, what they'll do is they'll use the quick effect of Ku Klok, as well as Chandelier, and then send Keldo, for example, to the graveyard, set Welcome Labrynth, and then summon Lovely Labrynth to either destroy one card on the field, or in our hand, it tends to be on the field if they're going second. And they always try to go for Super Factorial, because they hate the idea of Lablation being non-target removal. So it does bypass the effect of Lady Labrynth. So despite a card being set on the field, we can still remove it because it's non-targeting, it's not destruction, so like card destruction, so it can actually remove Lady Labrynth. And of course we get the extra negate from Diameter as well. So they always try to go for Super Factorial. So my advice to you is, let's say you have Super Factorial and Infinite Impermanence in hand, put Infinite Impermanence down first, and your opponent will think that's Super Factorial. They always do. I have no idea why. I think it's just a psychological thing that you think your opponent's going to put the most important card down. But that's pretty much it. I don't really want to go into Labrynth too much. There isn't that much of a complex play. At the end of the day, they have a lot of power cards in here, and I've pretty much explained the important ones. Now, of course, they have Muckraker, but this card isn't really that... Muckraker? I don't know. This card really isn't that important. It's just like an extra protection to their monsters, but I have actually never seen this summoned except through one way, which I'll explain in the next portion of this video. But yeah, I'm just going to leave this here because there's not really much else to say. I can always explain any of these if you have any questions, but for now, let's move on to the how to counter this deck. So I'll see you there. Okay, so guys, now that I've actually gone through the combos for Labrynth, I've pretty much done enough promotion showing how strong of a deck they are. It's time to actually go for the cards that will help us counter a deck like Labrynth. So this isn't really the order I wanted to go through these cards, but it is the order that they've presented themselves. So I am going to have to just go through it one by one just to keep it easy for myself. Now, the idea with Ibli is that because we are a Cyburst deck, we can link summon this monster up quite easily. And then by its own effect, it will special summon itself to our opponent's side of the field. And then they are forced to work under the condition of you cannot special summon monsters except link monsters. So now that means they won't be able to special summon Lovely from the main deck. They won't even be able to special summon Lady from the hand. So it does put them into a position of, I have to get rid of this card. What do I do? Now, it is quite easy for them to get rid of it. What they do is they normal summon any of their monsters. It could even be Maxi. And then they just use Ibli and the effect monster, because it requires 2 effect monsters, to go into Muckraker, which is, if we go to the card now, just so we have a good reference. Oops, sorry, it's taking so long. There, here we go. Muckraker here. So look, just 2 effect monsters. And then essentially they have more protection for the rest of their cards by battle or card destruction. But we don't have to worry about that. So once they normal summon a monster to go into the inevitable, link off, I would just activate Super Factorial. Now you get rid of the monster that's on the field, and then you get rid of another card in hand, and now they're left with 3 cards to deal with, right? And that puts us in a really good spot because now they have to go through the battle phase if they want to get rid of Ibli, which they need to in order to get Lovely or Lady onto the field. So the idea is that we would let them attack into, probably Laplation, which would be 2,000 damage only. And then from there, we should already have Desave them in the graveyard, Signet Conflict if you're playing it, and then also Aggregator from Terahertz, just to prepare for the rest of the turn, because now all they have is main phase 2, and then the end phase, and then from there, the next turn should just be, we have Signet Conflict if you play it, and then of course we have Desave on to negate any traps. So we're in a really, really good spot here. So yeah, I think Ibli's a great, how do I say this? I don't know the right way, term to. It just slows down your opponent. It makes them use resources that initially they really didn't want to use in the first place. And even if they have cards in hand like Coup Clock as well as Chandelier, with only 3 cards left for the turn, well, 4 cards actually, I'm incorrect there, because if we're going first and they've drawn a card, they have 6 cards to start with. With only 4 cards in hand, they have to discard not only itself, so for Chandelier, but also another card, so left down to 2 cards. And if another card is Coup Clock, left down to 1 card. And we already had the Desave negate for the 1 trap that they're trying to set up here. So we're in a really, really good spot here. Now, of course, if they have Ariana, it kind of presents a different issue, which is if they normal summon Ariana, we could just use Signet Conflict then and there, and then banish it. That way they don't get the draw from it, and they lose the monster. And then we save Super Factorial for the next round because, well, for the end of the turn even, just because they're going to get rid of Nightmare Ibli. And I think from there, that's probably your best bet, just to make sure that you have protection against their cards. And if they have Coup Clock in hand, and then they get rid of Ibli, they are going to go for their special summon off of, Welcome Labrynth or Big Welcome Labrynth. So that's pretty much Ibli explained. Now, Ash and Ghost Spell, they're both just such great cards. They're just the pure counters to this deck, because Ash Blossom stops anything being summoned from the main deck. So this is great for Welcome Labrynth and Big Welcome Labrynth. But Ghost Spell is great for Big Welcome Labrynth because in the condition of, Big Welcome Labrynth, you can special summon from the hand, deck, or graveyard. That graveyard summon is what meets the condition for Ghost Spell to be activated. So it's good to play both of these. And Ghost Spell is great against a number of decks. So it really wouldn't be putting your deck at a disadvantage towards a set number of decks. It's great against Dragon Link, it's great against Vanquish, which are incredible at the minute, and then it's also good in some cases against Purely, as well as, what's another deck? Kashtira, I suppose, in some cases, but it is just a good deck overall, a good card overall, and sometimes it's good to protect your Maxi from, Call by the Grave, because everyone plays 2 of it at the minute, and, well, understandably, because Maxi's around. So that's pretty much these 2 cards sorted. You don't really need to question it much. I would say these 2 are almost a must if you're going to be playing a lot of Labrynth, but if you don't play a lot of Labrynth, then always have Ash anyway for Maxi, and then you're pretty much golden from there. Now for Denko Sekka. Now for a lot of the community, I'm pretty sure you already know what this card is, but for anyone who doesn't, this card is basically the best card going second. The only thing that really can out it is, I guess, the negate of a monster effect. So for us, it would be terahertz. We send aggregator, negate the effects of this monster, and now we don't have to like we're not forced to work under the condition of its its effect. So when this card is normal summoned, cannot be special summoned, and this is a condition, so it's not an activated effect, so it doesn't matter when this card is summoned. Regardless, while you control no set spells and traps, neither player can set spells and traps, nor can they activate spells and traps that are already set on the field. So we won't be able to set anything, but going second, ideally you just normal summon this card, and now your opponent's back row is completely dead. Cannot do anything, and again, it's not an activated effect, so they can't just negate this like Baron de Fleur. As soon as this card is face up on the field, the condition is active, the effect is live. So this is just a great card going second, because it's not just trap cards that you're protecting yourself from, it's also spell cards like Super Polymerization, which are huge against Mathmech. Mathmech just cannot deal with a Super Poly because you just can't respond to it. So it's just one of those things where if it happens, then you best pray that you have enough extenders to keep pushing, because otherwise, yeah, you're pretty much fucked from there. But Denko Sega is a great card, and then on top of that, if you are going first, it's not bad, because look, you got a level 4 here. If you have another level 4 extender, you can go to Alan Bershin, so it's pretty good. Just bear in mind that it's good to play Small World if you're going to play a card like this. That way you can actually, have it out, and your opponent can't really do anything once you normal summon this against the Labrynth deck. It's really tough for them. I don't even think you can imperm it. I know that Solemn Judgment can negate the summon though, but judging by the deck we saw and the decks I've seen on Master Duel meta for Master 1 Labrynth players, they don't really play Solemn Judgment, so I think you're in a pretty good spot if you play this card. Now, for this card, I'm going to be honest, you see I haven't bought it myself, but it's just because I don't really see a specific need for it right now, but the effect is actually very, very beneficial. So any card sent to the graveyard is banished instead. Usually that would be shit for us, but it just says except monster cards. Now, the reason why that's so good is because against spell and trap dependent decks, so purely Sky Striker, Labrynth, and Trap Tricks as well, they don't want their spells and traps banished. Like it's just impossible for them to actually kind of play through that. So, well, not impossible for Labrynth, but for stuff like purely, they can't really build into a bigger, they can't really build it into a big noir easily. If they have this, the quick play spells in hand, then it shouldn't be much of a problem. But most of the time, they build Plump. Plump gets them from the graveyard, and then it's an easy climb from there. But if you out one of their, if you out one of their Xyz monsters while My Friend Purely's on the field, and this card is in your, your pendulum zones, then what can they do? Everything has been banished, so we're okay. And then for Mathmech, we don't really care about, Super Factorial being banished, Silent Conflict being banished, or any of the other spells and traps, because we don't really depend on them being reused. We're not Salomon Great, we're not that type of Cyberse deck, so any spell and trap being banished to us is just not a huge feat. So this is a card that I've been considering, but who knows, I might even buy it in the near future just to test it out. But I do really think it's a good card just based on its pendulum effect. The actual effect is pretty useless because it's a pendulum. So I was quite surprised to see this was a Cyberse as well, but I think it's a pretty good card, so just something worth considering. And then look, where can you go wrong with, having Harpy's Feather Duster? So I'm going to be pairing these two together because depending on just, drawing the one card going second is too much of a risk. So having a card like Triple Tactics Thrust is very useful because you can actually just search for this card if your opponent activates a monster effect just that turn. So it is really good to have a card like Triple Tactics Thrust and then just use Harpy's Feather Duster to destroy the back row. Now, obviously, your opponent's going to trigger all the effects that they can, but this is good because we're at least flooding them out to make sure that they just trigger everything at once, and we're no longer going to, suffer under the effects of Imperm, Dogmatica Punishment, Ice Dragon's Prison. Can't think of anything else, but you force them to bring out their boss monsters early, so the interruption is less effective. So yeah, Harpy's Feather Duster is pretty much a god-given, but I don't really play at the minute just because I play the risk of, I'd rather have Red Reboot, but we'll touch on that in a moment. Now, Deck Lockdown, I know that this is not a popular card. It is seen as very goofy, seen as very unusual and very erratic, but I love this card. Whenever I play against Labrynth, and I've got a few replays that we'll go through together, this card just wins me the game. And I like to have a card like that just because every other deck seems to have certain cards that are deemed as fair somehow, like Tickaboo, ridiculous. How is this card in the game? This is just ridiculous because most decks are combo decks, so this card alone beats anything. I've just never been able to out this card, and yeah, it's just impossible. I do think it's highly, highly unfair to have a card like this, so I don't see any reason to not have a card that is a complete counter to not only Purely, but Labrynth as well. So this card is just amazing, and we'll go through the replays together. But lastly, we're just going to Red Reboot before I go into the save one. But Red Reboot, look, it's a counter trap, firstly, and it can be activated from the hand. That is just a feat on its own. Like, it's amazing. So you do pay half your life points, but for the effect that's given, I think it's very, very much worth it. Mathmech being a turbo OTK type deck, having a card like this can secure you the win in so many ways. So even if they imperm you, this is just great. You can just cancel imperm. Yeah, they may be able to put down a trap for the next turn, but they're thinking that they're going to live through that turn. You have to make sure that they don't. And if you don't think you can OTK, then you have to create access code and then destroy all the cards on the field that you know the next round are going to be an issue. So you do have to make a calculated decision as to whether you can OTK, and it is just one of those things. If you play a lot of Labrynth like myself, then you should consider opting in a second one. I haven't yet, but realistically I should. I think it's just because I've been playing a lot of Vanquish very recently, so I've been trying to prepare for that deck more than I have Labrynth. But Red Reboot is a fantastic option, and it definitely deserves UR status. So it is a little bit expensive, but it's very, very much worth it. Because again, it's not just Labrynth. Purely, if they try to use the trap to bring out, X Purely Noir, counter trap it, they don't get to bring it out, and now you have to shoot for game. And it's just amazing. I love a card like this. And as soon as I discovered what it was, I was like, well, what? How is this card even in the game? But for a good reason it is, because there are just too many cards like Tickaboo, and I'm trying to think whatever else, but like Solemn Judgment, this card is so annoying because when you bring out even an unaffected by card effects card like Final Sigma, just the summon can be negated, because as soon as it hits the field, there's that small time of transition of a normal summon resolving where Solemn Judgment can just stop it. So yeah, that is really, really irritating. But if you have this in hand, you win the game. So good luck to you. But yeah, that's pretty much all the cards. The last one is obviously Desave Them. Since this card has hit the game, we've never really had to worry about the end phase tactic I was talking about with Coup Clock, where they're special summon Lovely Labrynth in the end phase, because now we just negate it. Now obviously we don't want that to happen, but against a trap deck like Labrynth, it puts us in such a advantage knowing that we don't have to worry about at least one big Welcome Labrynth or Welcome Labrynth for the rest of the next turn, because we negate it, and now for the rest of the turn we have Lablation to remove anything they try to put onto the board. So puts us in a really, really good spot. So yeah, Desave Them is just a must. But I'll tell you what, now that I've kind of gone through cards that I think you should add in, I really just want to get onto the replay so we can actually look how to play with Mathmech against a deck like this. So I'll see you there. Okay, so guys, we're actually onto the final section of the video before I just wrap this up with a conclusion. So I just want to preface two things. Number one is this is Season 22 gameplay. Now, the reason I want to highlight that is because my Season 23 gameplay is just not... It's just too fast. It doesn't actually display any of the points I've made in the previous sections of this video. And those are very big points that I just want you to keep in mind when you actually play against a deck like this. A lot of my Season 23 gameplay, I just roll over my opponent because, well, the support we have is just ridiculous. So, but sometimes you're not always going to be able to fall back on it. That's why the Season 22 stuff, where we didn't have as much strength, but still we're strong, is just good to learn from. So that's point number one. And then the second point I want to make is that this is live gameplay that I had from my last season. So it's not from the Master Duel replay system. So you are going to notice a lot of hesitation between not just myself, but more my opponent. And I think it's just because we played really well. So there are quite a lot of good points here. I've chopped all the videos together. So let's try and get through this as quickly as possible. I will fast forward till we actually see some action here. So okay, so we're going second here. We have Ash Blossom in hand, so that is a very good start for us. Now he's going to activate Big Welcome. We have to negate it. Like, you just can't afford for Lovely Labrynth to hit the field. That's when things get really difficult, particularly going second. Yeah, that's just, yeah, it is really, really tough for us. Okay, so that's pretty much a decent start for us, because having Ash. Now he has Welcome Labrynth and Big Welcome Labrynth. So he brings out Lady, which usually I would question, but because he has Big Welcome out on the board, it's going to trigger the second effect of Lady, so they can tailor the play for Mathmech. Now, this wasn't a very good player, because he's brought out Dimensional Barrier, so maybe he doesn't know Mathmech very well, but this was like lower Diamond. This is like Diamond 5, I think, so I wasn't really expecting much. It's more when you get to like Diamond 2, Diamond 1, where I feel like the good players start to really like filter out. So yeah, he declares Xyz as kind of irrelevant to us. Now, I do want to highlight, and I do want to point out, sorry, I use the word highlight a lot. Now, the main point of going second is to actually create Transcode Talker and then co-link Access Code Talker, because so Terahertz is amazing as our OTK option, right? But because of Big Welcome being in the graveyard and being activatable on either turn, he can just bounce back Terahertz whenever. Like, it doesn't really matter when. So it is just one of those things that unfortunately we just cannot be, we don't want to fall victim to. So right now you see me, I'm trying to create access code, and I can do it right now, but I thought about going into terahertz and I was just kind of faffing about and wasting time here, so I'll fast forward it a little bit myself. Can't always blame it on my opponent. I do tend to think a bit too long as well. So eventually I do go into access code with Gachiri. Now the reason why that's so good is because Gachiri makes access code unaffected by my opponent's card effects until the end of next turn, meaning that I can just use transcode as one of the materials to banish and then destroy my opponent's end board, and then that way he can't even be bounced back because he's unaffected. So I can just shoot twice per game, and then this was just a very easy OTK. So again, yeah, you want to have access code co-linked with transcode, so that way Big Welcome cannot bounce him back and he cannot be targeted by any other card effects. And then look, very easy OTK. Let's jump straight into the second game. So we are going first on this game. I'll try and fast forward because there's not too much to learn from it. Although actually, so we get drolled at this point. We get, you know, we get super factorial, and now I can't get diameter from Alan Bersham. So you would think that it doesn't matter what I do next and I shouldn't go into Alan Bersham, but I cannot afford to lose Sigma to the banish pile because there's still a way that I can make super factorial live, which is what I'm going to do is go into Alan Bersham. So I link off Alan Bersham. Yep, so he's not going to, you know, chuck the bodies to get anything because he can't. So I'm going to use Ash Blossom, unfortunately. I didn't know I was playing Labrynth. If I did, I wouldn't have used, you know, Ash Blossom. I obviously would have used Maxi, but I didn't know, so benefit of the doubt here. Now he's going to take a while to Ash Blossom the Parallel Exceed. I don't know why he just takes so long, but he just does. Yeah, okay. Gonna let him skip that and I'll pause it. Okay, so now the important thing is that I link off Alan Bersham, so that way Sigma goes to the graveyard and not the banish pile, and now we can just go into terahertz, send diameter, and super factorial becomes a double interruption once again. Now again, because this is season 22, we don't have D-Save Worm, nor do we have link decoder or protect code, so our end board isn't as spicy as it is today. Like today, oh, we are so strong and I love it. Like, oh, I wasn't expecting Mathmech to get this support so quickly, so I am actually so pleased that we are. Well, that we did. Like, it's just made the game so much more enjoyable. But yeah, things will come to an end very soon. But yeah, look, we send diameter now. Usually we would send the save worm as well as diameter, but I don't think we'd ever really be in this position. So yeah, we have 4 interruptions. So 2 from super factorial, 1 from terahertz because we're playing aggregator here, and then another one from impermanence. And then had I kept Ash, this would have been easy. So because he's paused in the end phase, you know that he's doing the Ku Klok strat, but he actually doesn't have Ku Klok, so he's just going to set, I think it's Big Welcome. Yep, so he's going to set Big Welcome, and then I'm pretty sure he brings out Ku Klok, because that's pretty much going to set up the rest of his plays. Now we're going to activate super factorial early to try and get rid of the card on the floor and the card in hand. That way he's left with 1. But what I should have... Okay, never mind. I was going to say I should have chained terahertz to send aggregator, but because it's Big Welcome, it's just going to go back to the hand anyway, and I would have negated my own monster, so yeah, probably best I didn't do that. So I promise I probably used my brain when I was playing. I was probably thinking more when I was playing then than I am now. So yeah, we have the 3 materials, and we're about to use our double interruption now. So we're going to take a card from the hand. Yeah, that's great. And I think he uses Ku Klok now because he doesn't want it to be discarded and then not be able to use its effect. Yep, so he's going to be able to activate a set. I probably should have negated that because he would have been able to make an additional play this turn. But look, we won regardless, so it still went through very well. Now, this is a very good example of why having terahertz on the board without protect code kind of sucks, because we are vulnerable to Big Welcome. So yeah, he's going to take a long time. So sorry about this. And then here, okay, so I negate Ku Klok going back to the hand. Didn't want to skip too far. So he's not going to be able to make the same double play on the next turn, because that Stovian Chandelier just always set another Labrynth card, and it's just so irritating to deal with because this deck is just so strong. And I'm just waiting for him to end his turn. Yep, okay. Now he brings out, because, you know, through the effect of Ku Klok. And now, because it's Welcome Labrynth, it's not going to go back to the hand. So now I chain terahertz, so that way Aggregator will definitely negate whatever he brings onto the field. Man, I love this card so much. Terahertz is such a good card, guys. I saw one of you in the comments said that you got a Royal, and I am so jealous. Like, I keep recrafting this card because I just want it in Royal so bad. Even with a little bit of a glossy finish, I'll be happy. But man, I've wasted well over 500 SR points. So yeah, good for you, man. Very at least someone's getting it, so I'm very pleased. But yeah, now that's negated. He's not gonna be able to set up a following play through Lady Labrynth. And now let's move into the next bit. Okay, so here's a very good example of where Big Welcome is just such a threat. So I'm going to summon Dotscaper here because I'm trying to go into Lingaribo as quickly as possible. But he knows that, and look, it's gone back to the extra deck. But because he's now used Big Welcome this turn, that is a hard once per turn. So now, because I have the materials to go into, so just want to highlight, I have Sigma in the grave. I don't know why I didn't use it. Probably should have, because it would have made my link climbing a lot more secure. But either way, I didn't, so that's my bad. But I go into Terahertz once again, and I can OTK because there's nothing else he can do. He can't stop me in any way. So we're very much golden. Have nothing to fear. So I'm just going to fast forward till we climb. There is a long hesitation here because I don't know what I was worried about. I wasn't sure if there was something else I had to be concerned about, whether he was going to be able to activate that other set card. But I have better knowledge now. I know that there was nothing to worry about. So yeah, so forgive me on that. And there we go. Look, I send multiplication. And it's GG's, like. So fair play to this guy, but I just don't think he played the greatest. We're going to play a good player in just a second. It might be the next guy. No, never mind. Okay. So I've drawn the out here. We're going second. I've got Harpy's Feather Duster. So this is before Thrust came out. And look, fair play. Look, I drew the out. But this player just wasn't very good. So you'll see why I say that in a minute. So yeah, Dimensional Barrier, that's not his fault. He didn't choose that. Like he drew that and has said it. Now, notice what he puts back to his hand. So, Ariana, and what he summons to the field. Another Ariana. Like, what is the point? Like, it's so wasteful. And I have an infinite impermanence, so I'm going to negate the draw. So, he's not going to be able to search for a card from his deck and put it to his hand. And it's just useless. Now, I forgot that he doesn't have a level 8 Fiend monster on the field. So, I was playing super, super cautiously about, around Big Welcome, because I know it's in the graveyard now. But I didn't have to. I really didn't have to fear about anything because all I need is access code and I can shoot twice per game because I know all the cards in his hand. So we're in a good spot. And if he survives the round, we have Signet Conflict for the next round. So we are very, very good. And then, yeah, we just keep playing from here. And then, yeah, okay. It's taking a lot longer than I thought. I forgot about this. Yeah, I don't know why I was taking so long to think this one through. But, yeah, either way. There we go, let's pause it a little bit. So now I have all the bodies I need to go into. So I could just go for access code now, but the smart thing to do is make G Golem, which I'm about to do now. So you can make G Golem with these two. If I would just hurry up a little bit. Bring back transcode, and then use the other two bodies to go into. And there we go, look. So at this point, even if he had a level 8 body on the field, he would have to bounce G Golem the second it uses its effect, because as soon as these two are co-linked, it's game over because he can no longer bounce anything. Because as soon as I bring back something from transcode's effect, yeah, he's done. Like, he really can't do anything at this point. So we have definitely won this round. I'm just about to build a OTK turbo access code, and yeah, we win the game. So easy 9,600 damage. I think, so the hesitation is him just setting another card, but he's not going to be able to activate it. And I hate this deck. I'm going to be real. I really don't like Labrynth, so I was being very petty and deleted the last card just for the sake of it. Now we're going first this time. I think there's only one more replay after this, so I am trying to get through this as swiftly as possible for you guys. Okay, I don't really think he has any interruptions here. No, okay, that's a lie. I'm pretty sure he has an imperm at some point because there was so much hesitation, but because I have Lingaribo, he was holding out for a little bit, and here we go. About to see it. There we go. So impermanence negates it. Let's reset the speed a little bit. And then we get rid of... Do we get rid of Call by the Grave? Yeah, so I get rid of Call by the Grave because if he had Ash, he would have used it by now. And we would have played through the Ash through the sense of, Call by the Grave. So either way, getting rid of it wasn't the biggest deal. But I do want to point out something I point out in every video, which I find excruciatingly important. So you notice I have infinite impermanence in my hand. Now I'm going to set that card first because I want my opponent, because you always have to prepare for the fact that you are going to play against a Labrynth player. Now if you set infinite impermanence down first, you're telling your opponent that is the most important card from your combo, and it always works. Now, I don't have any studies to back me up. I don't have any, surveys to prove it, but it has never failed me. So touch wood, it doesn't happen again. But look, he's going to go for the Ku Klok strat again. So now that he has Ku Klok, he can summon Lovely this turn, which he's going to do. And then look, he's going to go straight for Infinite Impermanence because he thinks that's Super Factorial, which absolutely kills this deck. And they hate Super Factorial because they don't like the idea of non-target removal. It just bypasses all of their cards' effects, so it is very annoying for them. And I think he just leaves because, like, what can he do? Like, we're going to get rid of Lovely, which is, the protection for their traps. And then we have a negate from Diameter anyway, so we're in a fantastic spot. And yeah, look, he scoops. We're all good. I think this is the last game, guys, so let's try and get through this as swiftly as possible. Now, okay, I'm very glad I paused it here. Do not do what I am about to do. So you can see I have Addition in my hand. Special summon Addition first before you tribute Nabla for its effect. Because if he ashed me right now, I have no monsters to special summon Addition from, because something has to be on the field for him to actually special summon, right? So if he ashed me then, that would have been game over for me. I literally would have had to have scooped. So yeah, don't do what I did there. That was really risky and it paid off, but yeah. Ash is a staple hand trap, so the likelihood that your opponent has it, very, very strong. So I can count on the fact that he doesn't have Ash, but maybe Imperm he might have had it. So having the negate from Diameter feels good. But now I can just go into the rest of my 1-card combo. And I've drawn Silent Conflict, so I am in a very good spot here. And again, look, I'm going to highlight it, but had we had Link Decoder and D-Save Worm, this end board would have been crazy. This end board would have been Silent Conflict, Super Factorial, Protect Code, D-Save Worm, Terahertz with the aggro. Endless. Like it would have been insane. Now I don't know why I ended on this. I think it's because I could have ended with Terahertz, but I think I just wanted to have that security that if Heat Soul got Kaiju, because I wasn't sure what deck this was at this point. Yeah, but so because I didn't know what deck it was, if I got Kaiju, at least I'd have a Code Talker on the board for Silent Conflict. So I think that's why I did it. But these days you should never do that now. It's not even an option. Like I promise you should never even go for it. Now, I just want to highlight, with Nadir Servant, the only two decks that I know play this are Labrynth and Branded. It's designed for Branded, but I've never actually seen them use it. So I very much know it's for Labrynth. So I knew this was going to be a Labrynth player the second he activated that. Now, he sent Enters to the graveyard. He cannot target Transcode Talker or Heat Soul, and deleting Alan Bershin is kind of pointless. So he's going to go for the back row, try and get Super Factorial, and bait me into having to use it early. So he does target Silent Conflict, as you can see on the board here. And I'm not going to use it because there's no point in me actually activating it. It really just serves no purpose. And I wouldn't be able to activate Droll. So the reason why Droll is huge here, by the way. So because he's added Ecclesia to hand. Ecclesia, when you normal summon, from a Labrynth perspective, they're going to add Dogmatic or Punishment from Ecclesia. So because I'm going to Droll them, they're not going to be able to add that card. And that card is pretty much what kills Mathmech. So we did the right thing here, by far. Yeah, we did the right thing here, by far. So, yeah, very pleased with this. I'm going to fast forward a little bit because my opponent doesn't really know what to do at this point. I'm pretty sure it's set 3 and pass, so I could be wrong. And would you look at that? Yeah, so set 3 and pass. We're going to go Super Factorial in the end phase. Let's reset the speed a little bit. Now, we're going to get rid of the field spell because despite negating any of the Welcome Labrynth traps, they still gain the additional effect of destroy 1 card on the field, and that non-target destruction is pretty lethal, so I do want to get rid of that. I was hesitating, but it's the right thing to get rid of the field spell, I promise. Now, I draw Ash, which, that is so insane. Like, I cannot believe I drew the out, so yeah, luck is very much on my side here, and now I'm going to create a access code that is unaffected by card effects yet again. So I might even opt in Gachiri again, to be honest, because it has so much value, so much value. So I'm going to Ash the first one because you have to Ash the first Welcome Labrynth. I'm going to just say that again. He's put Lady Labrynth to hand because he can maybe create a play from Lady Labrynth. It depends. But I'm just going to delete. So he made a mistake here. And, well, actually, not a mistake. He's stuck. Like, Mathmech are not a control deck, but we are playing control in the sense that all I want is transcode and access code co-linked, and he can't do anything. He doesn't have any more resources. So I was thinking about going into Terahertz, but it's a bad idea because he has Big Welcome in the graveyard. So all he would have to do is special summon Lady from the hand, and he has the condition to bounce back Terahertz. And then he has a second one, as you can see on the right here, in the graveyard. So let's say I use these 3 to go into, what's it called, Terahertz. And then, yeah, he bounces back Terahertz. I've only got access code on the field. So I would have been, like, fucked the next round. He would have just bounced back access code for free, and we would have had nothing to do. So we did the right thing here. We're just going to attack for game. And this is the last replay, guys. Yeah, so there's a lot of hesitation here. Oh, no. Sorry about that. I think I pushed the number. Yep, so we go for the push from... So we attacked with access code, as you can see. He's already taken a lot of damage here in the top right. And then we, yeah, just attack with transcode, but he blocks it. So, but he can't do anything. Like, we're just going to delete it with access code again. So, yeah, we're in a group. We're just in such a good spot. Like, what can he do? And there we go. Like, I think he just leaves because he has no other plays. Like, he can't bounce anything back. Not even his own cards. And, yeah, I'm not sure what I'm waiting for, but... Yeah, and then next turn. And there we go, we're done. So that's pretty much all the replays, guys. I'm going to show one last replay, and this is a Season 23 game. So the reason I want to show this is because it does display how the new cards that came to the game do present such a difference in the value of our end board. So if we start with, yeah, the classic 1-card combo. And then, yeah, can't fast forward this one as well as the other app, but it's pretty simple from here. He draws us, but what does it matter? We have Super Factorial in hand anyway, so we're pretty much good. And I know we're not going to get Signet Conflict, but because of the Save Worm, look, that's already good enough for us. And we're playing Labrynth, so we're all good. We're all good. And he can't do the, so you'll notice in a second, and Protect Code, like, love it. He can't do the end phase strat, so he does it, but even if he had Coup Clock, it would mean absolutely nothing. We would negate the activation, the card would just go to the graveyard. It just, yeah, we're in a great spot. And then we just activate it early, try to get rid of it. And then it's just easy as that. So very quickly, the reason why I put Signet Codec face down is I wanted to bait the idea of me having Signet Conflict. Mathmech being so popular, I know not everyone plays Signet Conflict, but there are enough of us that it is a very well anticipated card to like look out for. So I like to just bait it out in case they feel too much pressure and just leave straight away, because I like a quick win. I don't really want to play too long. And then yeah, we just negate Ariana and it's GG's. They can't play anymore. So yeah, that's pretty much all my replays, guys. I'm going to save all the rest of the discussion in the conclusion. Sorry. So I'll see you right there. So guys, I thought a good way to actually wrap up the video and conclude this is just to like summarize the points that we've gotten from this video. So we know that the going first combo is to make sure that they can get lovely Labrynth out early. So if you can stop that, you're in a very good spot going second. But then if you're going first, you have to look out for the Coup Clock strategy. So now that we have D-Save Worm, we're actually in such a good spot, because no matter if they use, you know, big Welcome Labrynth or Welcome Labrynth on the end phase of our first turn, we just negate it. And then the second turn is just all ours for the taking. Like, we completely rip them apart. And I really enjoy that. I'm such a huge fan of it. So yeah, I do think we're in a really good spot this season. And even if Circular gets hit to 1, it's not the end of the world. Like, otherwise the TCG wouldn't be performing decently with Mathmech either. So, but then again, there are Unchained and Rescue Ace about. So that's a whole different story for a whole nother day. But either way, I think we're in a really good spot now. Now, of course, I showed you a few cards that you could implement into your deck. Now, the Pendulum one, you can ignore. Trust me, I think that's more experimental. I'll try out myself. I don't want you wasting your UR points just to be upset with me that, you know, it's not performing that well. Let me test out first, but the theory behind it is pretty solid. And the reason why I like to kind of suggest these cards is because I have suggested cards like Deck Lockdown before. And Deck Lockdown for me does phenomenal. Like, the reason I didn't show you those replays today is because I have so many videos where I've shown you them, and I don't want to make you guys sick of just seeing the same gameplay of, you know, Deck Lockdown, making my opponent do nothing. So yeah, I just wanted to show you actual gameplay, so I just left that out. But stuff like Ghost Spell is not just good for Labrynth, it is great against Dragon Link, and it is really good against Vanquish. Vanquish is such a good deck this season, so you do have to really be careful of it. And yeah, again, we're not built for the mid to long range. Now, besides the cards that you can add in, I do have to say, going second against Labrynth, the strategy is always to get transcode co-linked with access code. That way you can actually control the game, and despite us not being a control deck, when you delete all of, Labrynth's resources, it is hard for them to recover when they have nothing on the board. They do require quite a lot of cards in hand, and if they can't supplement that, then you're in a really good spot. So just try to delete the cards as quickly as possible. So yeah, transcode and access code co-linked, that's like the main thing going second. But going first, you want terahertz on the board every single time, so you can send D-Save Worm, and that way, even if they don't do the Coup Clock strat, you have D-Save Worm for when they try to activate a spell or a trap, and you're in a great spot. And then on top of that, you have Aggregator. So in chain link response to their special summon, so welcome Labrynth, not big welcome, unless they have a monster on the field, then you can just negate whatever comes in the field. So just bear that in mind, okay? So if they don't have a monster on the field and they activate big welcome, don't activate terahertz, because Aggregator will just negate itself. Well, it will negate terahertz. But if they're using if they're using welcome Labrynth and they don't have any cards on the board, then you can definitely negate. And then that's also in addition to, if they have a monster on board and they use big welcome, you can also negate, because you'll just negate whatever's on the field. So yeah, you're in a very good spot there, guys. But yeah, I just wanted to wrap it up there. And again, thank you so much for your time, guys. I see we're at 115 subscribers. That is crazy. Thank you so much for your support. Like, I really, really appreciate it. If you have any questions about playing against Labrynth, or you feel like I missed something out, then just let me know, because I will announce it. I'm not going to be arrogant and think that my way is the only way. If I've missed something out, then I want all of you to know. So I do want to spread good information. And then on top of that, what was the last thing? Oh yeah, I hope everyone's reached Master 1, or at least Master 5. Let me know if you haven't, or if you're, going any struggles. Like, just let me know in the comments. This is why I'm here. Like this is why I started the channel. Like, I want to help you guys. So if you need any help, just put something in the comments and I'll be right there. But anyway, thank you so much for your time, guys, and have a great day. Take care.